Let's go to Asawase now and speak to the Member of Parliament there, the Honorable Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. Alaji, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Uh, Thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners.
Good evening to you and Barka for your victory over the weekend.
Barkakade, barkakade, barkakade.
You were a bit hot, weren't you? We saw you on TV. You were sweating more than you were sweating on January 6th when you managed to get Speaker back being elected.
No, not really, not really at all. If you were watching on TV, I came to vote, and you saw the rousing welcome I received from delegates who were in the queue to vote. Then after voting, I went around to just shake hands with the delegates. Then left back home. I only got back when it was over and the results was declared. So I was actually not on the ground. I mean,
I
I
see.
came there briefly, yes.
But prior to the elections, there were lots of views suggesting that you may lose or the contest was going to be very tight. In fact, your vice chairman, who had just finished speaking to captain for a region, thinks that the party thought, based on the research, that you were going to, even if you won, win by a slim margin. What worked for you?
Well, you see, that's the funny thing about whatever they said that he claims they were doing. Because if I mean, I'm a student of research. If you choose a wrong sample, you get a wrong result. If you don't do your research in a very objective manner, you definitely get what you call a result that will be deceiving yourself. Alexander, you see, the funny thing that people forget is that, yes, it's true, the longer you stay as a member of parliament, then voter fatigue begins to set in. And then as you get older, then there's this gap between you and the younger generation. Today, you have delegates who, frankly speaking, when I became a member of parliament, they were just 2 years, 1 year, some 3 years, some maximum 5 years. And they constitute close to 30 to 40% of the delegate list. And look, they don't know where the constituency came from. They just woke up. He's now going to madrasa or makaranta or the Arabic school. And now the Arabic school is no longer wooden. The one that we attend is no longer wooden. It's block. There are enough furniture. He sits. It rains. He steps out of his house. He's not stepping into a mat. I mean, there are street lights almost all over. There's water. They don't go fetching water, carrying buckets around to look for water like we did. I mean, so the lot of the thing, the person doesn't really know. So there was this battle and struggle with the older generation. Try to explain to them that you have no idea where we are coming from. And you see, there was this deceit that was like, they meet you in Marusanda, then they say that, oh, Marusanda, you've been following Muntaka all these years. What have you, Marusanda, what have you benefited from Muntaka as an individual? And you see, sometimes it's so funny when they say that and they say, look at the car that he's driving, look at the home, look at the house that he has. And sometimes for lack of adequate knowledge, more that you just fall. It's true. The guy has just been thinking about himself. He's not thinking about us. And then you become they sway you away. So you see, I waited. They kept saying all these things. And unfortunately, they had all manner of support from several levels of the party, people deceiving them and telling them all manner of lies. So they kept going on and kept going on. Look, Masana, I was there throughout the, what do you call it, PDC, CDR, NDC 1, PNDC, NDC 1, NDC 2. That's Rawlings era, 19 solid years. When I started meeting the delegates, fortunately, there are these elderly ones who have been traders and what have you. Then I'll tell them, I want anybody to challenge me by showing me that Rawlings' 19 years that Rawlings did, the 19 years that Rawlings was president, in this constituency that we have, Asawase, if you show me one person Rawlings has given a motorbike, just one, not two. 19 solid years, nobody in my constituency, Asawase, had ever received even a motorbike from Chairman Rollins. But what is it that in my community, the Zongo, that especially Asawase, we so love Rollins, and we are so proud of him, that made us to the NDC. Just about two things that he did for us. One, by introducing education into our educational Islamic system. We have our madrasas. We were not going to school because we didn't want to go and be Christianized. And then Rollins introduced what we call Islamic Education Unit. And God, through Rollins and the Islamic Education Unit, many, I may not be surprised, you may even be a product of that. I may not know, but if you are typically from the deep Zongo, you may be a product of that. And the Zongo people are forever grateful because that one intervention, just by just changing the law and making and introducing the educational system with our Arabic schools in tandem, it made a lot of change in our community. Secondly, Rollins stood firm and thought that there must be equity and gave us 2 holidays, the Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. For these 2 reasons, we were following Rollins not because we had ever received motorbike or vehicle or it come to share money house by house. So I started explaining to the people, nobody goes into a political party thinking that he's sitting in the house because it's simple NDC, somebody will be taking care of him. I decided to take that upon myself as a member of parliament. And the member, if you come to my constituency, in the spirit of just these 18 years that I've been MP, I have sent 129 people to Hajj. 129 people. 129. And this one, I put a challenge. I won't say with the exception of this person. I'm saying that there's no any Muslim MP, whether the person has served longer than me or shorter than me, that has done that. None. Because I took it upon myself that as part of what Allah has given me, every year I'll send some people to Hajj just to go and pray for me. There's the number of motorbikes, one we're checking, that I've distributed over this period, that I bought with my own money, were more than 150 that we have given to individuals. And sometimes, funny enough, they will sort of be seated in the say, but you received motorbike from me. It was brand new. You received that. You got that. You got that. Scholarships that I've given to individuals. When I started in 2005, there was one, Dr. Samuel. Today he's a specialist in Confanochi. And he comes out to tell them, look, I was in Antwerp Secondary School as a day student. I was sometimes, if my mother doesn't get money, I have to walk from Asawase to Antwerp. But for the sake of when God wanted to intervene, Honorable Muntaka heard about me. He came to my rescue, gave me scholarship, moved into boarding house. And the year when I completed, I was the only person from Antwerp Secondary School that went to medical school in K University. And throughout medical school, Honorable Muntaka intermittently, when I'm in dining, he steps in to help me. Today, I'm a specialist and I'm serving the community. Anytime I see people from our community, I intervene. You remember the NDC government sent some doctors to Cuba to study. I don't know whether you remember the.
I don't know that.
Yeah, you know how many of them were from Asawase? 10. And today, all of them, almost all of them, I think about 8 of them are already doing their housemanship. Very soon, they are going to finish, maybe become specialists, and they'll be helping the community. So I had so much to show for my 18 years. As against this young man, all he does is that he's inciting the NDC youth. What have we been following? You. We are not talking about the community. After the community, it's NDC that developed it. It's NDC that developed the community. But we are talking about you following him. And it was catching fire until when I stepped in to explain to them that, look, nobody follows party and then you get it. And then I'll give us an analysis. I said, look, the delegates of Asawase, you are about 2,000. Just ask yourself, if someone says that, oh, he has to help you, so you are 2,000, every month I'll give you 500. Ask yourself, 500 Ghana, what will it do to you? It may not do much for you, but anytime the person says you give you 500, that means it's 1 million Ghana cedis. Ask yourself, that person who is going to Parliament, ask him how much is the salary of the MP. The net salary of the average MP, no MP today takes home more than 13,000. No, there's no NMP. Even if the person doesn't owe any bank, the net that the person, the average, is just around 9,000 people are taking home. But let's just say somebody doesn't owe anybody. So he doesn't owe any bank. He has not taken any soft loan. So the net the person is taking is about 12,000. But it's 12,000 multiplied by the 48 months in the 4 years. The ex-gratia the person will get, as compared, if I take it to last 4 years, the ex-gratia that we've seen was about 260 something. So round it to 300. When we put all of it together, it's not even up to 1 million cities. So I think if somebody is telling that, oh, he's coming to intervene, so that you can personally benefit, ask that person, where is he going to find that money? When I started explaining this, many started realizing that, oh, there's this deception. It is there like the $1 million per constituency, the one village, one dam, the Tiscaso will come there, that kind of slogan thing. So it began changing some of the youth, their thinking, and seeing the need. Because look, I give an example. I said, look, yes, 20 years is not 20 days. But in Kumasi, am I the longest serving member of parliament? My senior brother, Osechi Mesabos, the majority leader, is there. He's been 28 years. But with all humility and with all respect, if you go and compare the development in Asawase and Swami, I mean, we are miles apart. We are miles apart. Yes, you will say that, oh, that's the only NDC, so when NDC was in power, but as a side example, you go to Idra, you go to Nedra, you go to other places, you don't see the kind of development that you've seen in Asawase. So, by the grace of God, we were able to work this. But you see, once you were doing all this, then you have the machinations. I mean, you have a national officer come and he's campaigning with a young guy. And then I will tell the supporters, no, don't give him attention. He's just an attention seeker. When you just try, then the whole world will know such a person has come. Ignore him. We ignore him. No, it wasn't even the news. You have some national officers who are calling business people and telling them, NDC business people, not to support me, but they should support the boy. And the business people tell them, what is the logic? This is a very experienced MP. Why are you saying that we should also support that one, we should support a newcomer? All these things came to us. And you see, Sandra, the saddest one is, can you imagine, even the venue where we should have our election, a national officer picked it and took it to FEC. And shamefully, they agreed to make it an agenda. Asawase will vote, they picked it to FEC and discarded it. That's a shame.
Who is this national officer?
Why do you show this kind of open hatred for an individual? That you even tell where they will vote to facilitate the executive committee meeting.
Who is this national officer?
No, I've said that I am not going to mourn about what has passed. I'm not the one to break the party. They know themselves. I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but they know themselves.
Look, do you think that Masaudu was sent?
Let me just tell you this last one. Can you imagine? Asawase is the biggest constituency NDC has in Asante. Is the biggest in terms of number. Asawase, because of its location, is the most strategic constituency NDC has in the whole of Asante. So it is virtually the heartbeat of NDC in the region. And then you are distributing ballot papers. If it is not deliberate, then we have a lot of incompetent people managing the national office. If it is not deliberate, that Asawase ballot papers will not arrive in Asawase. But Bantuma, where you and I, with all due respect to my colleagues and comrades in Bantuma, you and I know that you go and elect a candidate in Bantuma. Yes, he may help us to protect the ballot, but not much will come out of Bantuma. Bantuma had his ballot papers, and they could start at 8, and Asawase had to start around 12. What a shame. What kind of open hatred is that? So you hate the individual person that you are even willing to destroy the constituency.
What's the source of this hatred? Do you know?
No, Sandra, I am so shocked. I am so shocked. Why am I shocked? Look, in political party activities, like in every home, sometimes you have misunderstanding. You have people who may not agree. You have at the periodic times where there may be some skirmishes, and others will try to resolve and what have you. But at the end of the day, you know the strength and weaknesses of each other. My worry is that how do you take someone who has taken a constituency from 2005? That vote in Asawase was opening just around 30,000 and grew it, had grown the constituency to a point that the vote there is over 50,000. Look at all the effort NPP have made to seize this constituency from us. I'm sorry to tell you that if in terms of NDC, in terms of resources to hold Asawase, everybody in Kumasi knows when it's time for election, the best you may get is some little money for polling agents. And ask in Asawase, the kind of training that I give to my agents. Sometimes you have to go through more than 10 times training. I foot all the bill. The agent money they will bring is not even enough. I have to top it up and deal with it. Campaign. You'll be lucky to get somebody, the national will even bring the presidential candidate poster up to 1,000 or 2,000 for you to use. You use and you grow the constituency up to where it has reached. In Parliament, Sandra, you are a witness to how I have fought to defend and protect our party interests in Parliament. I have worked tirelessly. And I always say it with all humility, that even God has to use me. And everybody in this country knows this for a fact, to even get as a speaker, which is unprecedented. Let's assume, without admitting, that maybe I've stepped somebody's toe. Is that how I should be treated? Is that how I should be treated? As if I've never done anything good. What are we telling the younger ones who are coming? The new MPs that are in the chamber. And no matter how much you sacrifice, one day some few people will sit somewhere and decide that they have to mess you up. I see, like I've said on many platforms, God is not their village chief. God doesn't think the way they think. God will not hate somebody because you hate that person. But God has vindicated me. And I'm humbled by that. And I think that we need to work very hard to unite our party. Because look, what is at stake is bigger than each and every one of us. And you see, this kind of open hatred, when you trust people to be fair and candid, because you see, people forget that we have a lot of floating voters. We have our core supporters as NDC, NPP have their core supporters as NPP. Now, in between, we have these floating voters. And do you know what they look? They will look at even good governance, even when you are in opposition. How are you governing even in opposition? For them to make a decision, whether they can trust you when you now have power. You don't have the military, you don't have the police, you don't have the national security, you don't have all these parastatals, you don't have this state facility, and you can be abusing some of your own colleagues and be putting your hand and nose and poking your nose and fingers in other people's constituency. Then when you have military and police and all that, what will you be doing to yourself? How voters will be asking.
How high, Alhaji, is this agenda against you, this hatred as you call it? Is it the national executive level or the flag bearer level? Because I'm looking at the structure of your party or the constituency level.
The sad thing is that it is not that there's a structure that went and sat down and said that, oh, maybe let's assume, ask for National Executive Committee, we have to orchestrate this. Or National Executive Committee, we have to orchestrate this. Or the office of the flag bearer will have to orchestrate it. No, individuals, they take upon themselves and do those things. And because sometimes we have a lot of sycophants within our party, people even see it and they are not willing to talk about it. Because maybe those individuals, where they sit, they need one favor or the other from them. So they just keep quiet, knowing very well what they are saying is wrong.
Are you willing,
they're not willing to talk about it.
Are you willing to name and shame?
No, it is not for me to do that.
Are you willing to forgive and move on then?
No, obviously. That's why I'm saying that one of the things that I said yesterday in another network, that my prayer and wish is that the flag bearer, now that he's the leader of the party, will not only meet those who have lost, but he will meet in a smaller number. Because when you go and meet people and they are hungry, you don't get the crux of the issues. It is not only me. So many MPs are so bitter that, look, people who were not supposed to be allowed to contest were allowed to contest. People who had all manner of things that have happened from one individual or the other. If he listens to them, he listens to all of us in a smaller group, he will be able to take copious notes and get to know that, okay, these particular officers, whether at the national or at the region or at some other levels, this is what harm they have done. And therefore, my suggestion is that when he is convinced by the number of people that have mentioned, because in that kind of meeting, I can specifically mention with all the evidence that I have, this person did this, that person did this, this person did that. Then let's assume that another person comes to mention the same officers. Then by the time he talks to the 136, 37 MPs, then he gets to know that almost 30 or 40 are mentioning the same names. Then he knows that those persons should not be given a frontal role in the campaign towards 2012 because they will be detrimental to our campaign. Because he needs to find a way of uniting our party. And I can bet you, some of them, they did some of this thing with a lot of malice, with a lot of vindictiveness, so that people just do things and you wonder, why are they doing this?
You really feel pained. Are you able to work with these national officers moving into the elections 2024?
Look, I speak very emotionally, but everybody who knows me knows that, yes, I'm a very hot-tempered person, but I'm also quick to let go. I'm also very quick to let go because, you see, NDC is bigger than each and every one of us. Once we set the right tone, everybody should be willing to let go because, you see, for those of us who have won, despite all what we've gone through, those who have lost, those who are yet coming, believe me, one thing is very clear on our mind, Thunder. If we play the fool and we dare, may God forbid, and may God perish the thought, we lose the 2024 election. We'll be putting our party in a very difficult situation. And I have spent almost all my youthful age in this business. And I don't think I want to be part of those who, when they are setting the record, that those who were there and could have worked very hard to avoid that our party will be the first in the Fourth Republic, not have been able to gain power after 8 years, that we are the batch of guys, either as species or members, sitting members of parliament or that couldn't achieve that. I don't think it's a record that any of us will want. And for that reason, I'm sure every one of us who is pained in one way or the other, whether through these machinations you lost, or you still survived, or you are not coming in, we should be willing to put all these things aside and fight ahead and make sure that we win the 2024 election. So when we are done after winning, we can come back and look at all these issues because I call them as minor as compared to what is at stake and what is ahead of us.
Finally, you've lost 17 of your colleagues on your side. You were former leader of the House. What does that mean to your front? Should you see it as an opportunity for fresh blood or a big loss to your side?
Let me tell you. In 2000, prior to 2020 election, that's around 2019, when we went to the promise, who were in leadership? We had to do a lot of things, even telling people to go to one country or other, doing all manner of things. We were 106 and we lost only 9 in the premise. If you check the percentages, that was just about 8%. Today I'm hearing 16, I'm hearing 17. I'm not able to go. I've confirmed the 16.
It's actually 17. It's 17, okay. Yes. Mm.
If you use the 17, that gives you about 12% loss. And you know the pain. The pain is that in 2020, because NPP had just come, there was a lot of vigor, there was a lot of energy. You would have even expected that, that's naturally, when you are going for primaries, NPP should be interested in seeing some constituency, creating confusion so that they could have the chance of splitting. You split your votes and then they take the constituencies. And you have so many examples like Contombra and many others where they had to do that and they took over the seats from us. Now in 2023, my brother, NPP is struggling to find its feet. They are struggling to stay above waters, not to be mingling as much as they could do in 2020. Then we'll go and lose 17. Who do you blame? It will be very unfair if you blame the current leadership. Because the primaries were announced before unstrategically the coup that happened in Parliament. Very unstrategic. If you want, ask do any political scientific research, it will point you that the timing of that was that coup was absolutely wrong. It didn't give the new leadership even the opportunity to settle, not only to settle that, to see how they can organize to save many more MPs. You see, going into the 2024 election, you are hearing MPP constantly talking about breaking the eight. One thing that is very significant that you need is experience. Sandra, you remember what happened in Tetsima? The person was a newcomer. You saw how Asawase, 206 police stations. Every single police station in Asawase was declared as a hotspot. And you know when they called a police station hotspot, they even bring military. Asawase was invaded with military as if Asawase was completely a war zone. Yet, if you look at the collation center that day, I was there. And by the grace of God, the military, at least because of the structure God has given me in this country, when even something is about to go wrong, and I try to talk to their leader, he listens. I said, no, you don't need to push them. Wait, let me talk to them. Then I talk to the crowd. Look, they don't want you here. Can you go behind the barricade and the people will listen? But believe me, if it was a newcomer, could he even had the courage to step in front of the military to try to get who is the team leader and whether even that team leader will even speak to that person. So what you need is a lot of experience. So when you go into planets and you're losing a lot of your experienced people, you need to be worried.
Do you attribute
when they were prior to 2020 election, MPP were losing some of their experienced guys, and they were talking and they were laughing. Because this guy was not supporting Nanado. This one because of that. What happened? The main election, they lost most of the seats to NDC. This is where my worry is.
Do you attribute?
You look at it as 17. You say 17 is small.
17.
Believe me, it is most likely that if you are not careful, the 2024 election may equally produce a parliament that may be neck to neck. Because it is also possible. Because it's possible. Once it's happened, you cannot rule it out. So if you go and you lose 17 experienced ones, and you are not careful, you have 17 novices. And these guys try to do the things they do in Tetsima and so many other places. Believe me, you're going to end up probably winning the presidential election. And then you lose parliament. And we don't need to be fed. Nobody wants to tell you what your prediction, what will happen if we have a parliament that is controlled by one party and then the presidency by another. Even with this neck to neck, look at the things that are happening. So I think that yes, it's happening, but we need to quickly go back to the drawing board and see how, especially those that have lost, how we can get them to use their experience to at least help their constituency to survive. It's very, very important. Because look at some of the numbers that they use in losing. Someone will lose with 4 votes, someone will lose with 7 votes, someone will lose with... The margin is so close. And it tells you something. And we, as in the NDC, need to immediately go to the drawing board and start. How do we overcome this?
You reference a coup in your front. You think that if the leadership change had not happened, the casualties would not have been that high?
Because that was a stable leadership that had done something in prior to 2020 that had worked and could have improved it. And look, we are talking on radio. When I first became a chief in 2013, the caucus accounts was negative. When this coup happened and the new leader were taking over, the caucus accounts had 1.6 million. Because we were planning with the leader, the strategy that we were going to do, identify difficult areas, just multiply the effort that we did the last time, where we sent people to back up MPs. But you have new leadership, you can never blame them because you see, they just stepped in, they're like changing leadership in wartime. They don't have ample time, they didn't get enough time to even settle, and there's promise, and MPs are struggling. So, I mean, you must commend them because all the things they try to do is that, okay, Can we try and mobilize money and try to support MPs? Even that, unfortunately, they couldn't mobilize much, but they did their best. And I believe that each MP will appreciate at least the effort that they've been able. But the kind of synergy that we created in prior to 2020, we couldn't do it. Because remember, I mean, just within that, there was this ministerial thing, and then the name calling, and then the infighting, and then tagging others as rebels and all that. It didn't give them the time to even try to do the pairing. Because people were going to support, I mean, the last time what we did was we'll pay. And then you go and support this group. Maybe 2, 3 of you go and support that. 3 go days. We distributed ourselves to try to help. And it did work. And I want to believe that maybe it could have been repeated in a much bigger way because, I mean, remember, we did that 4 years ago. A lot of experience have been accumulated, and that could have been better. And I believe probably maybe we would have lost that many MPs.
Very well. We wish you all the best and thank you for speaking to us, Alhaji.
Most welcome.
That's Alhaji Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka.